I would request Mr. Aftab Rehman, who is the Secretary of Pakistan Tourism Development Corporation, and I think he's already heard some very good suggestions for his report that he is preparing for the government. So maybe you can come first and tell us of how you plan to tackle the challenges that our very eminent speakers have brought out, and what is the national strategy that you think will work for getting all the provinces together and for putting tourism at the front and center of our socio-economic development. And also, if it would be nice to hear if you have a timeline in mind on when this national strategy for tourism would be complete.
Yeah, thank you, Nagmana ji. First of all, I would like to emphasize that mountain tourism is the biggest segment of tourism in Pakistan because at present we are having much stronger domestic tourism market already going into our mountain areas, and the foreign tourism is also gaining momentum after the COVID settlement. Last year, only KP province reported that there were 16 million domestic tourists visited the mountains of KPK province. Gilgit-Baltistan reported 1 million domestic tourists visited KP. And similarly, the Azad Kashmir area, about 2 million tourists visited them. And I believe that mountain tourism is one of the strongest provinces because much of our landmass in Pakistan is mountainous terrain. Because if you look around, it's about 62% of Pakistan's geographical area is mountainous. So we have mountain not just only in the northern areas, but mountains in Balochistan, in Sindh, in Punjab. All the provincial areas have mountainous terrains. So domestic tourism market, which is growing very rapidly, is handsomely contributing in terms of economic growth of these areas, in terms of social and environmental aspects as well. But the strongest element, especially in the northern side, where the other sectors are very, very weak, like the industry or agriculture, the mountain tourism is only the strong element which could really give the boost to the local economy of the people in mountain areas. So already the tourism contribution in terms of money in Pakistan is around 4 trillion rupees. And foreign tourism coming into Pakistan is bringing in something about 1.6 billion US dollar to Pakistan. And most of the foreign tourism coming to Pakistan is presently visiting the northern areas of Pakistan, so that we can say that the much impact of foreign tourism can be seen on the economy of these areas. So it is important to understand the dynamics of tourism in mountains and the challenges associated with that. No doubt, as the speakers mentioned in earlier presentation, there's a huge potential which we have in Pakistan in terms of developing various mountain tourism products. But side by side, there are challenges as well, because I've been traveling in all these areas since my college days as a hiker. So I've seen the growth over the years in mountain areas coming up and the changes coming up in the not just the economic landscape, but in the natural landscape, which is presently now under threat.
Could I please request our guests at the back to quietly have their tea, please, because we really cannot hear the speakers. Thank you very much. Sorry.
So, the potential is there, but I think the biggest challenge which we are now facing is the issue of sustainability in mountains, because the way domestic tourism is rapidly growing, and this is mostly the demand driven, because we have seen that the time, as mentioned by Ambassador Saabs as well, when there were roads only accessible to certain points. And then people used to travel on jeeps to reach to Naran or Kagan or to other places. And the faraway destination like Skardu, Hunza, and other places were even more difficult to approach in those days. But as soon as the road network improved in the past, like the Hazara Highway, the Swat Motorway, the road up to Dir and always to Lawari Tunnel, and the improvement, especially after the metalling of the Babu Sar Pass in 2010, there have been a massive traffic moving towards northern areas. I remember those days before the opening of Babu Sar Pass, there were only a traffic of about 40,000 to 50,000 domestic tourists to Gilgit-Baltistan. But immediately after the opening of Babu Sar Pass, that traffic increased tremendously. And now there's more than 1 million people visiting Gilgit-Baltistan, and most of that traffic is via Babu Sar Pass. So only by having an improved access to these areas, you can see that there's investors coming up, building up hotels, facilities, and many other businesses are booming. So a kind of a mushroom growth trend has settled down in these areas, and accordingly, the tourism is growing. And similarly, we have seen recently, when there were only one flight to Skardu, there was a limited traffic going to that area. But now we have a flight from Lahore, a flight from Karachi, and most of the days there are 3 flights landing and 3 coming back. So by the increase of flight connectivity to Skardu, now there are more than 50, 60 new hotels which have come up in a very short period of time. So one important aspect in mountain tourism is that is the element of accessibility by road, by air. If you improve that, automatically the businesses will start coming in and investing into tourism sector in terms of improving facilities like hotels and resorts and restaurants and shops and everything. So government strategy at the moment, I must say, is not as synchronized as it should be. As mentioned earlier, tourism is now a dissolved subject. The provincial governments are taking care of the development side of tourism in their respective areas. The last tourism policy was made in 1990. And after that, 34 years have passed. There's no national policy or strategy. We have, tourism is an international subject. Although it's a devolved subject, but we have to have a national vision where there is a presence of all the provinces along with us and the private sector also there, so that all the stakeholders work together to develop a sector which is developed on the sustainable lines and having a much more long-lasting positive impact on the economy and socio-cultural life of that area, and most importantly, the protection of the natural environment, which is under threat because of the mushroom growth trend right now.